Happy Friday, Soulmates. If you're just joining us, let's tap back into the top stories of the day. The Congressional Black Caucus met with President Biden and Vice President Harris as they face pressure once again to overhaul police practices. Now, this comes after Memphis police officers beat Tyre Nichols during a traffic stop. He later died from the injuries, and those officers were charged with murder. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act to combat these tragedies was stalled in the Senate more than a year ago. At Nichols' funeral on Tuesday, Vice President Harris said the White House wants ambitious legislation to address the issue. And in a new report, it's being detailed that Memphis Police Chief Sherilyn Davis had a similar task force to the Scorpion Unit during her time in Atlanta. The Scorpion Unit was a specially formed group of officers that assisted in combating neighborhood crime and enlisted the officers responsible for Tyre Nichols' death. The report says Chief Davis's unit in Atlanta was called the Red Dog Unit and was a group of 30 officers sent out to high crime areas in the city. The unit was disbanded in 2011 after settling 10 lawsuits related to that unit. And it has been more than 3 months since the passing of Shanquella Robinson in Mexico, and her family is still demanding justice. Now, according to her family, on February 18th, activists from the Million Youth March of Charlotte and Robinson's family will march from Little Rock AME Zion Church to a local post office in the area to send 1,000 letters in pink envelopes to Mexican officials. The family says the hope is that sending the letters will ignite someone there to push a little bit harder in bringing Shanquella and her family justice. And lastly, we're learning more about the upcoming Grammy Awards tribute to Atlanta rapper Takeoff. It's being reported that the Migos group member Quavo will be on tap to pay respects to his nephew and fellow band member. Reports also say that Maverick City Music will join Quavo for the tribute. You'll remember Takeoff was killed last November while at a private party in Houston. Live.
Thank you, Courtney. Now, Omega Psi Phi has revoked the membership of the 3 officers charged in killing Tyre Nichols. Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Emmett Martin III, who brutally beat Nichols on January 7th, were members of the Greek fraternity. Before Omega Psi Phi announced that they would be revoking the memberships of the former cops, the fraternity put out a statement condemning the police officers who committed the crime without mention of their names. The organization stated that they, quote, condemn their actions in the strongest possible way and called on elected officials to, quote, put an end to the senseless killing of citizens in our community by law enforcement officials. Now, Courtney, we have talked quite a bit about this since the story broke. And I think, part of what still hasn't quite landed based upon the most recent statement from Omega Psi Phi, there have been reported incidents in Norfolk, Virginia, and in places like Brooklyn, New York, where, hazing seemed to have gone wrong and people were harmed. I think at least 1 or 2 people went to the hospital. Maybe 1 person ended up dead. And so I think there are activists out there that are attempting to make the connection between what may be sort of, a culture that may be an undercurrent in that fraternity or potentially others, and the behavior that was exhibited by the officers when it came to the death of Tyre Nichols.
Yeah, as far as this case is concerned, I know a lot of the talk was about the first statement that the fraternity put out that really didn't identify those officers, that kind of spoke, addressed the issue, but kind of spoke around the participation of their members. And I kind of figured, as a member of the Divine Nine, that they would take things behind closed doors and eventually there would be some sort of action to expel those members, which we now see in this second statement that's much more detailed with naming the officers and the action that has been taken. So I'm thinking maybe that first statement, the second statement should have been the first statement, but every organization has a different way of going about handling their business. I'm just glad that Omega Psi Phi has handled it and hopefully hopefully the legacy of that amazing fraternity will continue to shine. Let's move on here. The Florida College Board has released its official curriculum for its new advanced placement course in African American Studies, following criticism from Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Department of Education, claiming it, quote, lacked educational value. Now, contemporary topics like affirmative action, queer life, the debate over reparations, and Black Lives Matter were taken out, while Black conservatism was added. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the week. Now, they also expelled educators, including Kimberly Crenshaw, a law professor at Columbia, Roderick Ferguson, a Yale professor who has written about queer social movements, and Ta-Nehisi Coates, the author who has made the case for reparations for slavery. Also, one of my faves, Bell Hooks, the late Bell Hooks, whose work is centered on race, feminism, and class, was also omitted. And you know, New Court of Law, always yield to you, because this story is your jam here. And here we're adding more fuel to this fire.
There's a lot of fuel added to this fire, and I think that's exactly the point. I think Governor DeSantis is trying to pour as much gasoline on this and hopefully ride this and all of its fumes all the way to the White House. I think that is probably what the governor is planning to do, getting people whipped up around this. But, you know, as I was looking at that list of all of the content that's been stripped from the AP African American Studies course, I thought about my own dissertation research, and this is the research that I did in studying organizational leadership, among other things, and a lot of those authors were a part of my dissertation. You know, I quote Kimberly Crenshaw. I talk about Black Lives Matter. You know, Bell Hooks' book is all about love, is sitting on my nightstand right now. And so, you know, this is not some intellectual exercise. This is happening right now. And the erasure of Black people, of Black voices, of Black scholars, of Black activists.
It's real.
It's real, and there are real world consequences, and we can't allow it to happen on our watch.
Agree.
Now, speaking of Florida, the city of Miami, their police has unveiled a brand new police car, get this y'all, in honor of Black History Month. That's right. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and Miami Police Chief Manuel Morales were on hand at Thursday afternoon's unveiling as they came together to remember and honor Black history. Yeah, Mayor Suarez stated, "This is a beautiful collaboration to commemorate Black History Month, the history of African Americans, and our police department and our city." Now, Courtney, I saw this and I thought, if this ain't tone deaf, I don't know what is.
Policing gone wrong yet again. Yet again.
You know,
like what?
I'm not sure if this is the moment, or if there's any moment, you know, to have a you know, sort of pimped out Black History police mobile unveiled, as the nation is still grappling, you know, from what feels like a never-ending stream of blood on the hands of police officers in this country, as we talk about the Tyre Nichols case, and as we talk about Keenan Anderson, the amputee, you know, and too many more to name. And
even a story that we just talked about yesterday, the insensitivity of these leaders, of CEOs, of upper management, the woman who was releasing employees and chose to quote Martin Luther King Jr. It's a lack of insensitivity. It's a lack of sensitivity, and it's just a lack of awareness. And I just don't understand how and why you don't have people around you who can better inform you and let you know that this might not be too appropriate. Why does it always get to the fact that we're looking at this, as you call it, a pimped out police? How did it even get to that point before somebody said, nah, let's scrap this and let's figure something else out? It's just unbelievable.
I don't know what about that celebrates Black history.
All right, speaking of celebrating, HBCU help me with that.
Tougaloo.
There we go. College recently celebrated Will Smith Day with none other than Big Willie from Philly himself. The actor and entertainer visited the HBCU to speak with mass communication and performing arts students. His visit was a favor to Tougaloo graduate Ingenue Ellis, his co-star in the film King Richard. Tougaloo President Carmen Walters stated, quote, "This is the first visit of many producers who are assisting us with launching our new program in film making and production."
FOXSOUL is celebrating Black History all month long and every day, especially here on the Black Report. Here's what happened today in Black history. On this day in 1920, the Negro Baseball League was founded, with Jackie Robinson becoming the first Negro leaguer to break color barriers and boundaries. In the year of 1956, Autherine J. Lucy becomes the first Black student to attend the University of Alabama, just 2 years after the Supreme Court's Brown versus Board of Education decision. And in 1990, a pop star was born. Jamaican singer and rapper Sean Kingston turns 33 today.
All righty. I love it. Love to see it.
Yeah.
It is Black History Month all year long, but this month we're putting some
extra on it.
Some extra
some
on
extra
it,
black
some
on it.
stank on it. Some extra black thing on it, as they say. All right, up next.
What's in the works for the 50th anniversary of hip hop at this year's Grammy Awards? You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report. Back after this.
Yeah, with some